We often like to hear stories of brave and honorable heroes, valiant triumphs over hopeless odds, the struggles of the underdog, which turn into trophies of victory. The zombie apocalypse affords us great legends, stories of survival and death. But this is not that kind of story. This is instead a story of great stubbornness and a desire to constantly test and strengthen one's resolve. This story is less about the man trying to survive a zombie apocalypse and more about the zombie apocalypse trying to survive the man. Our story begins deep inside the city of Louisville. Bruce Haymaker was getting his afternoon pump in at the local boxing gym. The day was a normal one to begin with, but quickly, that normal day changed. An airborne virus infected the population and cast the city into an apocalyptic wasteland. Most of the citizens dropped dead and reanimated instantly. The ones who were immune now left to defend themselves against hordes of roaming corpses. While most would find this situation to be a terrible experience, Bruce, on the other hand, saw it as an opportunity to hone his skills. He was washing up after his workout when everything happened. Bruce decided that he was going to feel the full experience of the apocalypse on his naked skin. He was already not wearing clothes, and he didn't want the zombies to dictate when he got dressed. He needed a challenge anyways, and this zombie apocalypse was exactly what he was looking for. The challenge: survive 100 days, no shoes, no clothes, no weapons, and no vehicles. He also had to punch 1,000 zombies straight in the face. The challenge was made and the stage was set. Bruce rapped his knuckles and made his way outside into the battleground. He was immediately met with some of the reanimated corpses. Their faces were twisted and lifeless, reaching for him like hungry savages. He wailed on them with everything he had until their heads would pop. Bruce ducked into a restaurant. He needed to collect some supplies if he was going to make it through the 100 days. Food would be one of the most important things. It was bulk season, and keeping a good source of calories was crucial. Bruce definitely did not want to lose any of his hard-earned gains because of a silly little thing like the end of the world. One of the dead busted into the store and tried to lay its filthy, stinking hands on Bruce. He had enough. He drove his fist into its head over and over until it exploded wonderfully. Bruce was powerful, and this apocalypse had no chance against him. After looting around the area, Bruce ran into a group of zombies that had claimed the building next door. He had planned on holding up in the area for the evening, and they would not be welcomed to stay. Bruce calmly made his way over and began laying waste to them all, one by one, until each and every one of them was a stain on the ground. Bruce was at the top of the food chain, and soon the zombies would know it. He crashed for the night in the nearby office. Then in the morning, he carried on with his mission. He was headed for a large shipping warehouse that he had once worked at. It would likely be stocked with loads of supplies and could serve as a potential base for the coming days. Bruce walked through the city. It was swarming with groups of zombies on every block. They cried for him as he walked by, reaching for him with their weak, feeble hands. He pitied them, pathetic and rotten. They wouldn't even try to block his punches. The only threat Bruce faced was his feet. Without shoes, they would be constantly needing bandages, and he would have to be extremely careful around broken glass or anything sharp. After a brisk and liberating streak through the city, Bruce arrived at the warehouse with a large group of zombies in tow. Using the fence to confuse them, he was able to catch a quick rest before the inevitable brawl that was awaiting him, a brawl that he welcomed with open arms. At the end of it all, it wasn't even a fight. The zombies were defeated embarrassingly. He dropped each of them like a bag of beans. They couldn't even land a single blow on him. His footwork and accuracy was impeccable. He made his way inside the warehouse and took a look through the inventory. After looting, he tucked himself away in one of the upstairs offices for the night. The warehouse was a good place for supplies, but it wasn't up to Bruce's liking for sleeping accommodations or comfort. Bruce decided his best bet was to head for the mansions on the west side of Louisville. There he could find a house with a fireplace, a boathouse for fishing, and something with high fences around it. It would be the perfect spot to spend the next 3 months. Walking through the city, Bruce was attracting lots of attention from the undead, and his feet were constantly being torn up and cut. Eventually, he arrived at a house that he liked the look of. It had high fences and a small boathouse in the back. It was perfect. Bruce tricked the large group of zombies following him and lost them in the trees, then made his way to the house. After a brief exchange and more busted zombies, Bruce made his way into his new home. Upstairs, he found another person who was also attempting the nude 100-day challenge just like him. However, they had been defeated. He caved her head in with a solid right straight and put all the corpses in the garage. The first order of business was locking the safe house down, barricades on the entrances and boards on the windows. In order for him to survive comfortably in this house, he was going to need some things. He needed lumber to burn and stay warm, axes to chop the lumber, plenty of food, a generator with fuel, and a freezer to preserve food. He also needed lots of entertainment. After setting up a small garden, Bruce made his way out into the vast city. Searching all the nearby houses for food and anything of use for the coming days, he was met with constant attacks from the dead. Bruce had no problem dropping them with hard punches, serving up fresh knuckles for any of them foolish enough to approach him. Then, while he was having a look into the back door of a house, he accidentally stepped on some broken glass. It cut deep into his unprotected feet, and he could barely walk. Badly injured and bleeding, he ducked into a house. Luckily, he managed to painfully remove the glass and sew up his wounds. He was able to walk at a decent pace now, and he headed straight back to the safe house. This was such a close call. If that happened while fighting a group of zombies, his impaired movement would surely get him killed. It was the first time in a while Bruce had actually been challenged. He was terrified and could barely move in shock. He shook in fear, completely weakened by the entire ordeal. From this point on, he was going to take this challenge seriously. No more horsing around at all, and absolutely no more tomfoolery whatsoever. Waking early in the morning, ready for business, Bruce needed to get to work. First stop was the fire hall, located near the warehouse. When he arrived at the location, there was far too many to fight safely, so Bruce gave them the slip, then circled back. He had to be careful not to step on any more glass while entering, but it was all worth it, and he was able to leave the fire hall with a wealth of tree-cutting devices. The second stop was the secure storage facility located just north of the warehouse, a perfect spot for finding a generator. Bruce arrived, but was quickly pushed back by zombies. Their numbers were growing by the day, and it was time to lower their population. Bruce took a quick rest, then dug in deep and started cracking skulls. It almost took the entire day, but Bruce finally punched his way through all the zombies in the area. He cleared the storage lot and located 2 generators, one for the gas station and one for his house. However, without a vehicle, he was going to have to take trips through the city while carrying them. The roads were packed with the dead, but Bruce continued forward like he didn't even notice them. He set up a generator at the gas station and another at his house, and carried all his loot back in a couple of bags. Little by little, his safe house was coming together. He took the ice cooler from the gas station and filled up a bunch of cans of fuel. His to-do list was almost done, but he still needed books and entertainment, and all the food he could carry. This city belonged to Bruce now. Anywhere and anything he wanted was all his. His skills were growing, and he was becoming stronger and stronger, now delivering enough power in one punch to level the zombies almost every time. He cleared and looted the library, then the video store. Then he hit all the convenience stores in the nearby area. He searched around his house and down the street, absolutely devastating any zombie he saw, laying waste to entire groups with ease. His hard work was paying off, and he was becoming unstoppable. His war paint was their blood, and he would not wash it away until the challenge was complete. He chopped down almost the entire forest next to his house, bundled it all up and brought it inside for the fireplace. His kill count was just over 900, and it was barely a month into the challenge. Everything was already finished, and his to-do list was complete. Now all that was left to do was fish, raid, and watch videos. Maybe the challenge was too easy after all for Bruce. He was just far too powerful. His feet needed constant bandages, but other than that, this was a cakewalk for him. He set up some water collection and plumbed himself a sink for drinking water. He did some fishing and farming and filled his freezer with fresh food. He exercised, ran laps around his house, and when it got cold outside, he hung out by the fire, reading comics and watching videotapes on his television. The apocalypse was great. When he felt bored, he would go for a walk and slug on some more zombies. Then, just like that, 100 days had passed. It wasn't even a challenge. He walked through it like it was nothing. But he had one more task ahead of him to cap it all off. He now had to return to the boxing gym, where it all started, and retrieve his clothes and motorcycle. One last streak through the city. He gathered a few supplies, said goodbye to his safe house, then headed into the city toward his destination. It crawled with the dead, wall to wall. His presence excited them, and they began to pour out of the buildings and stores toward him, his feet constantly being cut by the now rugged and unmaintained roadways. He made it to the warehouse. It was quiet, so he hid inside for the night and rested. He had one last push through a heavily populated area, and he would be there. First thing in the morning, he made his way through the crowds. When he arrived at the gym, it was surrounded, massive groups of zombies everywhere. Bruce was ready for a great battle. He stuck and moved, running around the gym and confusing the groups, taking them out one by one. He fought like a man possessed, his punches landing square. He used his quick footwork to dance around them. The battle was glorious. Bruce had honed his skills and was now without a doubt at the top of the food chain. And the zombies knew it. After he swiftly and easily punched out all the zombies, he walked into the gym. The challenge was over, and it was finally time for him to clean off and get dressed. He washed up in the sink. He had almost forgotten what he looked like without blood all over him. Then he put on his clothes, grabbed his backpack, knocked out one more zombie, and rode off through the city. He was a role model, a real-life superhero, someone we should all look up to. He had survived 100 days in Louisville. He had survived it while being naked. He felt the full experience of the apocalypse on his bare skin, and he was victorious. Now off to find more challenges to dominate, he rode off into the sunset. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like or even possibly subscribing. It would mean the world. Cheers.